Hey everyone, and welcome back to Corey's Cast. In this episode of the podcast, I am super excited that I have Erin from Aurifil. She is their creative director, and she's going to be talking us through all sorts of different things. We met originally at the Houston Quilt Market in 2024, had this amazing podcast actually recorded, and they had an audio issue while we were there. So she has graciously decided to hop back on with us and walk us through some of these really cool things. So we are super excited about that. Before we get started, please make sure you are subscribed to the podcast wherever you're listening or watching to. That way you can stay up to date with everything going on here at Corey's Cast. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in Erin Sampson from Aurifil. Erin, how are you doing?
Hi, Corey. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much
Good.
for us again.
It's my pleasure. I'm really excited that we had the opportunity to do this and so soon after the holidays. Thank you for inviting me on.
You are welcome. So, can you give us a little bit of background of your journey into the creative quilting world and kind of what led you to the creative director position at Aurifil?
Sure. It's an interesting one actually because I didn't actually come from a textile or quilting background at all. I actually came from a music background and used to work in marketing for a record label years ago. So I kind of fell into the textile world when I moved from New York City back to Maine and was trying to figure out next steps and where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And I had a friend who was involved with a batting and interfacing company
Okay.
based down in Florida and ended up getting hired by that friend to do social media. So I
Okay.
ended up doing social media for that company for 4 years. And from there, had made some connections at Orifil and was able to shift into working with Aurifil probably about 9 years ago. It'll be 9 years in February.
Wow.
So it was a very happy accident, I think, to find this industry because once I was in it, it was very clear that it would be hard to leave.
Yeah.
It's just such a wonderful, like inspiring, vibrant, community that we are involved in. So it's been a pretty fantastic journey from there.
Yeah, the quilting industry is absolutely amazing. Quilting, textile,
Mhm.
thread, all of it together is absolutely incredible. The people
Mhm.
are absolutely amazing. But to
That's
come from
true.
music label into quilting, quite interesting. What a
Yeah,
shift. But I didn't
it
realize
was
you'd
a
been
big
with
shift.
Aurifil for 9 years.
Yes, it
Wow.
kind of blows my mind a little bit, but it speaks volumes to the type of company that it is and the team that we have because I can't imagine not being with this team and working within this company. It's a really beautiful space and it's always a little bit something different and it's been a pretty excellent place to land. So,
Awesome. That's incredible.
yeah.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing that with us.
of course.
So, I want to talk about, and let's be honest, there's not really a typical day in the standard work that either of us do from the conversations that we've had. But can you kind of give
Yeah.
me a brief overview and those listening? Because, we are a little bit nosy. What does a typical day look like as the creative director of Aurifil for you?
Yeah. It's I guess the first thing I would say is that most people might find surprising is that we do have a relatively small team. And I
Oh,
think we try to not put that out there because I
right.
think that we with such a small team are able to do a pretty large output of work. And uh it's yeah. We want people to, understand that there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes and everything. So, but it is a very small team. I think we have 4 people in the marketing team right now.
Oh, wow.
And that's one of the larger departments that we have for Orifil USA as well. So for me, it is such a wide range. I work very heavily on the area of designer collections, so curated thread sets, and I work also with industry partnerships. So that will always comprise a certain portion of my day. But outside of that, I could be doing things on our website and updating collections or working on an ad for one of our publications or an event that we're working on. Or we could be meeting with the marketing team to brainstorm how we're going to work through an upcoming event. um, it's kind of every day is a little tiny bit different, and I think that's one of the beautiful things too, that it always keeps you moving forward, and there's very little chance to ever get bored, which is great.
Yeah, no,
I love it.
that's a really big deal. Having a constantly not changing, but just different
Mhm.
things that you're working on daily, kind of helps keep that creativity, keep the brain moving, keep changing things up, and not get caught in a
Absolutely.
rut.
Yep.
Which I've been known to do a few times. So the conversations that we've had, you
Mhm.
are a very creative person, hence creative director. But you just have a very creative brain, and I like the way that you think, and I like the way that you come up with things. How do you balance having that creative side of yourself with the business technical side of running the, helping run or run the creative department there at
Mhm.
Aurifil? Because I find myself, I have to have some type of tracker or something to tell me, okay, it's you got to stop and actually work on business, because I could sit there
Yeah.
and be drawing and designing all day long because that's where my real passion is.
Yeah.
So, what kind of advice or things do you implement to help work through that?
Oh my goodness. That's a tricky one. It is a balance. There are going to be those back and forths of working through plans of how you want to market a new collection versus, working on the financials of, another project. And I think that, the way that our brains work, if you have that kind of creative tendency, it can encompass a day. But I also think that it's nice to take breaks. So say you're working on writing copy for a new launch that is coming out in a month, and you're trying to work through things, but you kind of need to take that break. So those breaks are a great opportunity to take that pause and do the other aspects of the job that could be a little bit more tedious or involve spreadsheets, and you're going through all of that stuff. So it's taking those breaks and going to do the back and forth rather than just kind of honing in, um, and doing everything all at once on one project and then everything all at once on the other. I think those little breaks and back and forth are sometimes helpful, to keep things moving forward.
Definitely. And I like the way that you talk about that, having somewhere to go. Kind of, we say always have a creative outlet, but as a very creative
Hmm.
person, sometimes you have to have a business outlet
Yeah. Yeah,
to
absolutely.
do that balance and have those breaks.
Hmm.
So, with all of the amazing things that you do at Orifil, I'm sure they haven't come without some of their challenges. What do you have, like, kind of one of the most challenging moments that you've come across in the 9 years that you've been in this industry, um,
That's
and how you kind of
yeah.
overcame it. Because I definitely think that helps inspire people when they're getting into a rut, to figure out kind of how others
Yeah.
got over it.
I mean, honestly, there are, I think, challenges that arise on a pretty regular basis, and it kind of depends on what projects we're working on. If it's a new block of the month, and we've orchestrated block of the months that we run through our beloved shops, or if we've done educational programs, or even with our advent calendar that we launched last year, for this holiday season. Those types of big projects always have their challenges that come along, and I think that the biggest thing that helps you work through them is having the right team. And I think that's, I'd mentioned earlier, one of the best things about working at Orifil is the incredible team that we have. And I find that somehow we've managed to assemble this group of people that the way all of our minds work somehow just fits. So if I'm stuck on something, I can call, a coworker in Chicago and talk through that, and then we figure out, how to fix or how to work through whatever that problem is, and then move forward. Or our digital marketing coordinator is in the UK, so if we're working on something to do with a launch, I can talk with her and then work through what our next steps are. I feel like the way that we're all able to come together and support each other is honestly what gets us through every single challenge. And even if we don't all work on the same things together, I may be the primary person for designer collections, but if I hit a wall with something, I know that I can call any one of those coworkers and have a brainstorm or a talk through and find some way to work through whatever that challenge might be. Having a great team is honestly like I feel like it's underrated.
Yeah.
And it's people talk about the company that you work with or what your actual day to days are, but like having that right team,
Yeah.
I think is the make or break. And we're just very fortunate to have the right team.
I
So,
I can't agree with you more. Definitely having you have that, you have that title, for instance, the creative director, and you're the person that people are looking at that has, come up with all this amazing stuff. And people kind of look, towards me the same way as the chief quilter here at Linda's. But little do they know, I have a incredible team of people behind me that help
right.
present what everyone sees.
Yeah,
It's not
it's
just me because
huge.
I hit roadblocks all the time in
I'm
what I'm working
sure.
with. Yeah.
Well,
So
and if you
having
have
that.
that team, it just I think it makes all the difference. And it makes it fun to come into work every day also. There's never that moment. Even if you know it's going to be a crazy day and you know that you have all these things that you need to do.
Yeah.
There's never really a moment for me that I start my day being like, "Oh, here we go again. I got to go to work." Like that it's always something that I'm kind of excited about.
Yeah.
And it's the team and it's constantly having new things to do, that it's been 9 years and I'm still learning a little bit something new through
Mhm.
every week that we're, shifting into new things, and
Right, and you can
it's
even
good.
tell just by talking with you here, talking with you before, and seeing
Mhm.
your facial expressions, on camera. It still, like, excites you. It's still giddy to come to
It
work every
does.
single day, and
Yeah.
do different things in the line of work that you do, which is
Mhm.
super duper incredible. So having
It's
that
fun.
giddy feeling and that
Mhm.
excitement, is there, like, one of your most favorite moments or favorite projects that you've worked on throughout your time, that still, like, you reflect on it, kind of maybe defines what you've done there at Aurifil?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't know if I would say that there's one that would define my time at Orifil, because
Okay.
one of the things that's so beautiful about it is that there are consistently um, new collaborations that are happening, and new collaborations that are possible,
Right.
with the designers that we work with. So I think it's really having the opportunity to work with new people and to work with new ideas and to work with new products. I guess it's not the thing, but one of the things that happened recently was the opportunity to work on the launch of a new thread weight, with Aurifil.
Yeah.
So we last year had introduced an 8 weight thread. It's an 8 weight 2 ply, which is pretty comparable to an 8 weight pearl, if people are used to seeing the 8 weight pearl used very often for embroidery and hand quilting and embellishments and things like that. So being able to work on the development of that product with our featured designer for that launch, Susie Williams of Susie Quilts, and then also carry that through into the launch of our second collection, which is with Anna Maria Parry, of Anna Maria Textiles, and to see that whole launch come through of developing the 8 weight thread, working with Susie and the Italian factory to make sure that the thread is exactly the way we needed it to be, working through the colors and the design and the launch. There are so many elements that went into that, and I think it was a really exciting project to be involved with,
Yeah.
and I think it's had a really good reception as well. So having the opportunity to collaborate on projects like that, whether it's, the 8 weight or when we launched our education program, and I know a lot of your viewers will have seen some interviews and clips with our master
The
educator, Karen
master
Miller.
educator, yes.
She's amazing, and Karen is amazing. So to be able to work with her and with some of the Orville educators on the Thread Labs program that we've
Mhm.
done for two years. That was pretty incredible. It was an entirely new program for us, and just exciting to see an idea start from this tiny little like seed and just kind of grow into this massive thing, and see the reactions. And I think that's the biggest thing. So it's not necessarily a defining moment,
Yeah.
but a series of beautiful moments that happen over the course of, I guess I call it a journey over the course of this journey with Aurifil. Um, it's very cool, and seeing how it all comes together with designers and educators and other staff members, and um, it's really a wonderful collaborative effort.
Yeah, so I'm gathering from you the moment per se is a full on collaboration. Those
Yeah,
moments
that's a
are
great way
just
to. Yep.
really really good, and they can be multiple moments that define, and it's every day even
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
just make it that's so great. So you were talking to us about different collaborations that you were doing on the 8 weight. I
Mhm.
want to shift focus into the different thread kits that Orifil offers. When
Yeah.
we were at market, you kind of took me through all of these ones that were on display, and they were absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah.
One of the ones that we carry here, and I've got it behind me, so hold on,
Mhm.
is the Basics collection from Mark Lipinski.
Mhm.
And I kind of want to discuss, like, I love a good kit. Trust me, when it comes to quilt
Mhm.
kits, thread kits, fabric kits, I'm here for it because it's put together and I don't have to think about it.
Yep.
But
It's
how
perfect.
how do those kits like come about? Where does the inspiration come with? Are you kind of looking to see what's on trend? How are you staying ahead of the trends to have those kits ready? Where's that collaboration effort between the designers and yourself to create these really cool immersive
Yeah.
kits that seem to hit every single thing that a quilter or a sewer needs?
That's the hope, to to hit it at the right time.
Yeah.
But I think the magic with the collections is really focused in on the designers and artisans that come in to curate these collections. It's educators, it's quilters, artists. I mean, it kind of spans a lot of different things, and a collection could, like the Mark Lipinski collection was one of our very first curated thread sets that came out before I even started. So I want to say that has been with us for over 10 years, probably 11,
Yeah.
maybe even 12. I,
It's
I
just a
don't know the
staple.
exact year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a staple. And if you look at it, it has this beautiful range of neutrals. So, if somebody is trying to stock their sewing space and they know that they're just doing a lot of piecing, or they want to have the key colors that they would want to quilt an entire quilt without having to change the thread, that kit is just a wonderful go-to starter kit, like the threads that you're going to want to have in your sewing space all the time. And I think that's why it's lasted for this long. It's become one of our absolute go-tos. But really working with these designers, it's it wouldn't work without them. It's the
Right.
fabric that they're creating, and the quilts that they're putting together, and the books that they're working on. I mean, there's so many different opportunities for designer collection curation at that stage. So we do try to work with these artists in an advanced way so that we can do a collection that perfectly coordinates with the fabric collection that they have, painstakingly put together. So that when quilters are going out to purchase things to do their quilts, they can say, okay, here's this fabric collection, and oh, I need thread too. And like, here's the thread set that perfectly matches every single color in that fabric collection. It just kind of takes things and adds this whole level of ease.
Right.
There are big ones, there are small ones. We work, in all sorts of ranges. It could be like a 3 large spool set all the way up to a 45 small spool set, so there's this wide range of opportunity available. Um, but it really is working with these designers and what they bring to the table and the vision that they have for the things that they're excited about creating. It doesn't work without them.
Yeah.
I really think it's their followers that are watching what they're doing on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube and seeing the way that they're using these threads to create something new and something unique, that adds that level of inspiration and gets people really excited. Um, So, the Mark Lipinski box is, if anybody's watching and just looking to grow their Aurifil collection, that's a wonderful place to start. But there's so many wonderful options, whether you're looking, you will have seen things from Karen Miller, I'm sure, but whether you're looking for like a 50 weight thread that is going to carry you through your piecing and quilting, sewing, things like that, or if you're looking for something more like in the range of a heavier weight thread, like a 12 weight or an 8 weight, where you're doing embroidery and you're doing hand quilting and slowing things down. So as far as trends, um, it's an interesting one. I do think there's a lot of looking around, and I'm sure that you
Mhm.
all do this too. You need to look around and see what's happening,
For
see
sure.
what people are getting excited about,
Yeah,
to think about what you want to carry in the shop as well. And we do our best to pay attention to what people are doing on Instagram and what we're seeing on YouTube, and in different areas in that way with our digital marketing coordinator. She's really great at spotting things.
yeah.
Um,
I
I
find
think
a lot
lately, yeah,
Oh, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I find a lot with trends that
Hmm.
when I'm going out to kinda look and see what's the next big thing on trend, and I had a guest on, they mentioned, like, going out to different of the some of those larger big box stores, like Target, for instance,
Hmm.
they have that huge home collection, and
Right.
walking through kind of what is new that season, you start to
Hmm.
see that pops up, and then you start to see slowly that fabric starts to follow kind of those trends, and then you start to see thread
Right.
coming up after that.
Hmm.
So I just didn't know if there was, but like you said, you're a digital market or social digital
Digital marketing
digital
coordinator.
marketing
Yeah.
coordinator, is kind of on the lookout for all of those things because
Yeah.
trends, as we know, they can go for a while or they can go up and then go right back down.
Yeah.
So investing
Absolutely.
a ton of time into a trend that's not going to last a while isn't, the
Hmm.
best idea. So I just
Absolutely.
tried to figure out where y'all got your inspiration from. So that's really cool.
Well, and I think it is looking at different angles in fashion too. It's if you think
Yes.
about the huge resurgence in seeing quilted apparel,
Yeah.
with the quilt coats took a whole turn and people started making quilt coats, and you would see those in Target as well.
Yeah.
Um, it's with that kind of whole handmade, hand stitching, take time to slow down. I think a lot of that started picking up around COVID as well,
Mhm.
because people did tend to have more time and were able to kind of take a step back and say, okay, well, I'm here. What am I going to do? And I feel like since then, the trend in hand stitching and doing more embroidery or more hand quilting or needle turn applique or EPP, things like that, that
Oh,
take a little bit more time, but actually connect you a little bit more closely to the practice of stitching. And it's like a form of self-care, right?
yeah,
So using threads that support that, if it's 80 weight for needle turn applique, or like I said, with the 12 weight, 8 weight for embroidery, it kind of we've been seeing more and more of that. Also with repurposing. And I know
mhm,
that that's tricky. It's not necessarily supporting the fabric sales end of things, but it
right,
does do so much to extend the life of things that have already been created. Whether that's stitching your clothing and finding new ways to mend so that the mending itself becomes a form of art on the apparel that you're wearing,
right,
or if it's mending a quilt that was created years and years ago and has kind of worn a bit and needs some fixing, that you're actually adding to the artistry of the originally created item by stitching something new, which I think is coming up more and more now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we did
Yeah.
a few episodes on our after hour show with my grandma who's really into upcycling, repurposing a
Awesome.
different, different word for it.
Yeah,
But then
absolutely.
I also see a lot on TikTok right now, really
Hmm.
trending on people taking, going to the Goodwill or something like that and
Hmm.
finding an old quilt and cutting it up and making it into new things like you were talking about
Absolutely.
the jackets and the pants and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And we'll see them use a thicker thread in their sewing machine to hold that together. So looking at maybe
Right.
the 28 weight
Yeah.
or the
Yep.
12 weight or different things like that to hold
Mhm.
those seams, but you're still using that really nice thread that goes to that paraffin oil bath. learned that with
Yeah.
Erin,
Exactly. Exactly.
which is really really cool
Mhm.
as it's going. So you work a lot with the designers for those designer kits like the Mark Lipinski
Mhm.
one. But when we were at market, we all you also walked me through the kind of was it Aurifil I apologize for my ignorance on
Yeah.
it, but the Aurifil standard ones that y'all have curated, the basics, I believe is what it was called. Can you kind of talk to us
Yep.
a little bit about how those have come up and how they've evolved and how you've added more to those collections to help people as much as you can that are stepping into the industry for the first time or trying Aurifil out for the first time and want things that work together. How does that
Absolutely.
process look?
Well, what we've done for years is we have, our Orifil designer collections that like you'll see with the Mark Lipinski or, our Tula Pink collections and other designer collections there, but we also have our house collection. With our house collections, we have been starting to expand the collections that we have available to give sewists and quilters a larger range of items to work with.
Hmm.
So, we have a set that we've had for probably 4 or 5 years called Necessities. And it's just a set of 4 large spools and it has, a white and a cream and a gray and a black that are like, here are your workhorse threads. These are the ones that you want to have access to
Yeah.
all the time. So it's your necessities. And we've had a few sets like that. But this past year, we took things up a notch and decided that we wanted to offer something entirely new, and we created the Foundations collection. I can't take credit for that one. It did not come through me. I was very fortunate to work on it and to have a hand in and how it came together. Again, with that incredible team that we have. Um, but the Foundations collections were created to give a wider range of options for quilters and sewists to try out our different range of threads. So, we'd had the necessities collection with the 50 weight. We'd had a smaller set of 80 weight threads called Calm that could give people a wonderful introduction to 80 weight. But we didn't really have that option available with smaller spools and with all of the weights like 40 weight and 12 weight and 28 weight. And we kept running into this issue of saying, oh, well, we want to send this out and we want somebody to get an idea of what working with a 12 weight is like.
Yeah.
Um, but there are opportunities that exist where maybe sending a designer collection isn't necessarily what is needed at that point. So we started thinking about what we could do for an Orphan House set. So Foundations collections offer, let's see, uh 20 small spool set of 40 weight, 20 small spool set of 50 weight, and then both a 10 small spool and a 20 small spool set of our 12 weight and our 28 weight. The color selection that we went through for those sets are really targeted toward the weight thread that we are featuring.
Okay.
So with 12 weight, you're going to have a super bright range of threads and less on the neutrals because when you're working with 12 weight, you're really you tend to be doing something like hand quilting or embroidery or embellishment, and those are stitches that are meant to be seen and celebrated and just right out there, so you want to
Right.
have the more bold colors, whereas with a 50 weight there's a greater inclusion of neutrals because 50 weight is something that is so often used in piecing or with subtle quilting when you don't necessarily want those stitches to be the center stage portion of the project. So the colors are really well tailored, I think, to the different techniques that you would focus on with each weight of thread. It's really a wonderful introduction to the various thread weights that Orifil carries. So if people are looking to experiment and try something new, you can grab a 12 weight, 10 small spool set of the foundations and have a really wonderful introduction. And it's not a huge investment,
Right.
but it gives you, something fun to play with. The other sets that we had there that kind of go hand in hand with foundations are our Aura Philosophy thread exemplar sets. And those are like introduction to Orifil in a single box. And it's very possible that Karen may have touched on those in her talk as well.
Hmm.
The Aura Philosophy sets go hand in hand with our education program, which is also called Orphilosophy. So the Orphilosophy sets are 7 small spools, and they feature one small spool of each of the featured thread weights that we work with. The only one that isn't included right now is the 8 weight thread since it's so new.
Mhm.
But in that set, you'll have 12 weight cotton, 12 weight wool, a 28 weight, 40 weight, 50 weight, 80 weight, and our 6 strand divisible floss. So it's a really wonderful set. And we do have that available in a single color box, which is our 2021. So if you really just want to experiment, you want to see what all the threads look like, that's a good one to work with because it gives you that same hue for each of the thread weights that we carry. But new again for last year, when we launched the foundation set, we launched a thread exemplar warm and a thread exemplar cool. So you'll have all of those thread weights in a warm color range or a cool color range, and it's perfect for really working on a project from start to finish.
Yeah.
You've got what you need to piece, to embellish, to quilt. It's this whole beautiful range of threads to play around with. So
Yeah,
it's very cool.
I can speak from personal experience when it comes
Mhm.
to the necessities kit and some these Aura philosophy
Awesome.
ones as well.
Hmm.
When I sat down with Karen in Houston and we had and that was our first interaction, chatting. We'd met before, but sitting down and talking, I was very candid and I said, I've never really used Aurifil. I don't know the hype, and I need you to
Yeah.
sell me on the hype of
Yeah.
this. And by
And
the end of
she's
the
great
video,
at that.
I was sold.
Yeah.
By the end of the video, I was
Yeah.
sold. If for those listening, if you haven't watched it, it is a great podcast that I did with Karen. It's available on our channel, so make sure you go back and listen to it. But when I
Yeah.
got done, I got up and Nikki pulled me over and she said, "You really haven't used the thread that much before?" I said, "No," and she gave me one of those kits and she
Hmm.
said, "Try
That's
it."
great.
And when I went home and started working with it on my machine, I was like, "Oh my gosh, now I see why people love Aurifil so much for piecing. It's incredible. It literally glides through the machine."
Yeah.
So having those kits, I
That's so
wouldn't have been
nice to
introduced
hear.
before. Yeah, I wouldn't have been to it
Yeah.
before. So those kits really got me through. It gave me some of those starter
Mhm.
colors, and I've already used 2 or 3 of them, not all the way through, but I've already used 2 or 3 of them,
Yeah.
and it's fantastic. I
Oh, I'm so
absolutely
glad.
love it. So kudos
Yeah.
to y'all
Well, I'm
for
so glad
that.
that she gave you the set too,
Yeah,
because it really, I think that's the thing. We can sit here and talk about our product. We can
right.
say, okay, hey, we have this thread and it's wonderful and beautiful for these reasons, and this is why you should work with it. But at the end of the day, nothing that we say necessarily matters. What really matters is getting the thread into the hands of people who are creating and quilting and sewing, and letting them play around with it themselves, because no matter what we say, it's about what feels right to
Right,
you.
right.
And the good thing is that the general feedback that we tend to find is that once people do give our thread a try, it's hard to
It
go back.
it's hard to go back. I can
Yeah.
speak from personal experience. It is hard to go back. It's really, really, especially with the 80 weight. I use that a lot for foundation paper
Yeah.
piecing because I've really gotten
Oh,
into
that's
that.
awesome.
And that
Yep.
80 weight is just chef's kiss. It's
Yay.
so good.
That's amazing.
So I've been using that a lot. So we've been talking a lot about all these different kits and
Mhm.
different things like that. And I know you and I spoke on the phone before this podcast, and y'all have already booked out. I hope you don't mind me saying this. Booked out your
Yep.
2025 collections already, which is super
We
duper cool,
have.
and they'll be
Yeah.
launching. But in Houston, you had one collection on display, center stage of the booth, and
Yep.
I want to talk about that collection. If you can give us some insight on it, kind of how it came about, the exclusivity behind it, and I think
Mhm.
that's something that's really cool on the horizon coming for
Yep.
Orifil. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, for Houston Quilt Market, the Premier Schoolhouse, which for consumers listening, it's like the feature presentation that ends up
Yeah,
happening before the trade show kicks in. that premier schoolhouse was for Tula Pink this year, and it was in celebration of her 50th fabric collection. So it's this huge, it's this huge deal. She's done a lot of incredible work with Free Spirit Fabrics,
Yeah.
and we've been working with her now. I think 2025 will be 11 years. So she has this wonderful history, and obviously a huge fan base of people that follow along with her and the art that she creates. So for her 50th fabric collection with Free Spirit Fabrics, she did an entire recoloring and redrawing of her very first fabric collection, Full Moon Forest. So the collection that comes out in April is Full Moon Forest 2. If you haven't seen it yet, you can find all sorts of previews on Tula's Instagram and Free Spirit Fabrics. It's spectacular. It's really stunning. And to see the way that things have changed with Tula's art in particular from collection number 1 to collection number 50 is really just it's a fascinating process to check out.
Yeah.
So for us, we wanted to celebrate that in the best way that we knew how. So we've collaborated with Tula on a new thread kit that's a 45 small spool kit, which is it's a beautiful box. It
I
is
love
an
the box. It's
actual,
stunning.
yeah.
It's
I wish I
stunning.
had one here to show you, but I don't have one here in my office yet. But it's a cardboard box that has a little magnetic closure on the front. So you just kind of flip that open and you open the box up and the 45 spools are just kind of splayed out in front of you. And it's all of the two of the colors that you see in her collections, just all in this one box. The thing that's really exciting about this kit is it's twofold. One, it's a fully custom designed box by Tula. So you'll see the artwork from her fabric collections completely printed all the way around this box. So in and of itself, I feel like it's a bit of a collector's item because it's something that you're not going to want to hide this away. You're going to
For
want to buy the collection and then put it on a shelf and display it in your sewing space because it's really like buying a print. It's like buying an art print and putting it on your wall.
Right.
But inside the threads, this collection contains 3 different thread weights. So it has your 50 weight, it has your 80 weight, and it has 3 spools of 12 weight. People who have been following along with us and with Tula may know that in 2023, we launched an exclusive set of neon hues that were developed to go in partner with the neon hues that Tula had created for Free Spirit Fabrics. So this past year, we actually released those neon hues in both 12 weight and 80 weight, which were completely new.
Okay.
So this kit that comes out in April, Full Moon Forest 2, contains the 50 weight, the 12 weight, and the 80 weight neons all in one box. So it's a really exciting kit to have literally everything that you need for Tula all in one place. We're really excited. It should be a really beautiful launch in April with lots of things coming in and things that will be posted. So keep your eye on the Aurifil space, on Tula, on Free Spirit Fabrics, because there'll be a lot to come between now and April.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I've got
Yeah,
some footage of when we were at Houston, so I'll definitely throw that in so people can
that's
see
great.
the box and different things like that because it's spectacular. It is an art piece. You're gonna want
It
it for
is.
sure. So
It's really
Aaron,
fun.
I really, really thank you for sitting back down with us and kind of diving in a
Yeah,
little bit deeper on what goes on at Orville, every day, some of those kind of creative aspects that are happening and having those different kits. Here at Linda's, we've got the 12 weight, the 50 weight, and the 80 weight collections
amazing.
at time of filming.
Yeah,
And hopefully we'll
that's
be
a great
expanding more.
range.
It's good range to have,
Yeah,
good start.
yeah.
And we just absolutely love it. We love y'all. We love you. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate
Oh,
your time. And it has been incredibly fun talking with you as it is every time.
absolutely. It's been so fun. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to join you today. And it was such a delight to meet you and to meet the team in Houston. So we're looking forward to more collaborations because that's what it's all about, that fun stuff. So hopefully it's going to be a great year and we'll have lots more to do And now I feel like I want to do the same thing for Aurifil with you so I can get some insight into what you all are doing all the
I
time.
I'd love it. We can definitely collab on that,
We should do
and
that
we can definitely get that done. So let's after the podcast, we'll get something on the
after the
books.
podcast. Sounds good. That
All
sounds great. Thank
righty.
you so much, Corey.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Well, everyone, that was our incredible episode with Erin from Aurifil. She again is that creative director. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Corey's Cast, and I will see you next time. Bye.